Ever notice how horror feels different when it's in your hands?
Yeah, on the Nintendo Switch, fear isn't just on the screen, it follows you anywhere. From haunting mansions to twisted dreamscapes, these games don't just scare you, they stay with you. So grab your Joy-Cons and maybe leave a light on.
This is our journey through the darkest corners of the Nintendo Switch.
So, we finally got Dying Light Platinum Edition running on the Switch. Honestly, I was skeptical. A massive open-world zombie game on a handheld? How well does it actually hold up?
Surprisingly well, actually. Techland did a remarkable job optimizing it. You're looking at a full version of Dying Light, not a stripped-down port. The open world, parkour system, day-night cycle, it's all intact. Visually, it's obviously toned down compared to PS4 or PC, but the fact that it maintains 30 FPS with minimal drops is impressive for the hardware.
That's the thing that blew my mind. I expected major compromises, especially in lighting and texture detail. Did you feel those visual downgrades took away from the experience?
Not really. The downgrade is noticeable. Textures are softer and shadows aren't as dynamic, but the Switch's smaller screen actually hides most of those limitations. When you're sprinting across rooftops or fighting hordes, the immersion stays intact. The handheld mode in particular feels amazing because you can dive into quick sessions without losing the tension and fluidity of the gameplay.
Let's talk gameplay. For someone who's never played Dying Light before, what makes it stand out from other zombie titles?
It's the combination of mobility, atmosphere, and risk. The parkour system transforms how you navigate danger. Instead of shooting your way through, you're encouraged to move smartly, use height, and avoid direct combat when possible. Then there's the day-night mechanic. Daylight gives you freedom to explore and scavenge, but nighttime flips the game into pure survival horror with volatiles hunting you relentlessly. That tension is what defines the experience.
So, we've left the zombie apocalypse behind and entered the eerie, dreamlike world of Little Nightmares 2. Instantly, it feels different, more psychological, more haunting. What makes this game's horror so unique?
It's all about atmosphere and perspective. Instead of relying on jump scares or gore, Little Nightmares 2 builds tension through silence, scale, and vulnerability. You play as Mono, a small child navigating massive, grotesque environments that feel designed to swallow you whole. Everything from the creaking floors to the distant echo of a TV makes you feel tiny and exposed.
That sense of scale really hit me. Everything looks oversized, distorted, like you're trapped inside a nightmare that doesn't obey logic. How does that visual design translate on the Switch?
Beautifully, actually. The art style is stylized enough that it survives the downscaling well. Even on the Switch, the moody lighting, fog effects, and warped textures look impressive. There's some frame rate dip in intense moments, but nothing game-breaking. The real power here is the mood. Whether docked or handheld, the Switch captures that eerie stillness perfectly.
Speaking of dark turns, Little Nightmares 2 seems to blur the line between horror and tragedy. It's unsettling, but it's also strangely sad.
Exactly. The storytelling is wordless, but deeply emotional. It's about fear, control, and innocence lost. You feel like you're inside a child's nightmare shaped by trauma and paranoia. Every enemy, like the teacher or the Thin Man, represents something psychological. The game doesn't explain, it lets your mind fill the blanks, which makes it even scarier.
All right, we've faced terrifying monsters and psychological nightmares, but now it's time for something a little friendlier.
Yeah, if Little Nightmares 2 gave you goosebumps, Luigi's Mansion 3 will give you giggles and maybe a few mild jumps along the way.
It's such a perfect tonal shift. Still spooky, still atmospheric, but instead of dread, it's pure fun. How would you describe the vibe of this game?
It's like a haunted house designed by Nintendo. Spooky, but never scary. You play as Luigi, once again caught in a ghostly mess when he and his friends check into a luxurious hotel that turns out to be, well, haunted. The ghosts are more mischievous than malicious, and the whole thing feels like a cartoon adventure with an incredible attention to detail.
Gameplay-wise, that Poltergust G00 is back and better than ever. How does it change things up?
The new mechanics really elevate the experience. You can slam ghosts, use the suction shot to pull off objects, and the addition of Luigi, your green gooey clone, adds clever puzzle dynamics. Switching between Luigi and Luigi to solve multi-step puzzles is genius. It's simple to grasp, but incredibly satisfying in design.
This is a camera obscura. It will let you see the unseen.
All right, we've had our laughs with Luigi, but it's time to head back into the deep, eerie side of horror. And this time, it's coming straight from Japan.
Yeah, we're diving into something far more chilling. Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater doesn't rely on humor or jump scares. It's about quiet, relentless dread, the kind that seeps in slowly and stays with you long after you put the switch down.
It's fascinating how this series has always stood apart from other horror games. Instead of fighting monsters or running away, you're facing them, literally, through a camera lens.
Exactly. That's the brilliance of the Fatal Frame formula. The camera obscura isn't just a weapon, it's your only defense. Every time you raise it to capture a ghost, you're forced to confront your fear head on. The Switch version keeps that same unnerving intimacy, turning the act of photography into a survival mechanic.
There's something terrifying about seeing ghosts approach through the lens, like you're watching your own doom frame by frame. How well does that mechanic hold up on the Switch?
Surprisingly well. The gyro controls add immersion, letting you physically tilt the console to line up shots. It's a perfect match for handheld mode, though it takes some getting used to. The visuals are sharper than on the Wii U, and the remaster gives the game a more cinematic polish, but it still carries that classic early 2010s horror vibe, which honestly adds to the charm.
The setting on Mount Yukami feels like its own character. Damp, foggy, and haunted by tragedy. It's so atmospheric.
Absolutely. The game's storytelling is rooted in Japanese folklore, with the mountain acting as both a physical and spiritual boundary. Each area feels steeped in sorrow, abandoned shrines, flooded corridors, and ghostly rituals. The atmosphere isn't just spooky, it's melancholy. The game uses water as a recurring theme, visually and symbolically, tying everything to purification, memory, and death.
After all that ghostly dread in Fatal Frame, it's time to slow things down, but not necessarily calm down, because Limbo may look simple, yet it's one of the most quietly disturbing games you'll ever play.
Exactly. Limbo is the definition of minimalism done right. No dialogue, no music most of the time, just shadows, silence, and your own curiosity driving you forward. It's not scary in the traditional sense, but the atmosphere, it's suffocating.
It's wild how a game that's almost entirely black and white can feel so emotionally heavy. What do you think makes it work so well?
It's the art direction. The monochrome palette strips everything down to its essence: light and darkness, danger and safety. You play as a nameless boy searching for his sister, but the story is told entirely through imagery and movement. Every trap, every moment of stillness has symbolic weight. It's less about what happens and more about what you feel as you move through it.
The puzzles are deceptively simple, but they feel harsh, unforgiving even.
Exactly. Every obstacle feels organic. The game's physics are tight and precise, but it never holds your hand. When you die, and you will die, it's brutal, yet strangely poetic. Each death teaches you something. It's like a rhythm: fear, failure, understanding, and progress.
So after the quiet, abstract horror of Limbo, our next game paints fear in a completely different way. Literally.
Yeah, we've gone from shadowy puzzles to a descent into artistic madness. Layers of Fear Legacy is pure psychological horror, a slow, unnerving walk through the crumbling mind of a tortured painter.
It's fascinating because the horror here doesn't come from monsters or enemies, it's from you. The artist's own mind is the real antagonist.
Exactly. That's what makes it so powerful. The story unfolds as you explore the painter's mansion, piecing together fragments of his past, his obsession, his guilt, his grief. The house itself reacts to your state of mind, warping and twisting in real time. Doors disappear, rooms rearrange, paintings melt. It's like being trapped inside a living, breathing nightmare.
The shifting environments are what really hooked me. One moment you're walking through a corridor, and the next you turn around and the entire space has changed. It's like the game is gaslighting you.
That's a great way to describe it. It constantly messes with your perception, using subtle tricks, sound, light, and movement to keep you disoriented. Unlike jump scare heavy horror, Layers of Fear thrives on tension. You never quite trust what you're seeing, and that's what makes it so unsettling.
how does it hold up on the Switch? Because this was originally a PC and console title, right?
Yeah, and surprisingly, the Switch version, Layers of Fear Legacy, runs very smoothly. The visuals are slightly toned down, but the performance is stable. The developers did a great job preserving the eerie lighting and detailed textures. And handheld mode adds a strange intimacy. Being so close to the screen makes the hallucinations feel even more personal.
So, after losing our sanity inside a painter's mind in Layers of Fear Legacy, you'd think we'd finally get a break from the psychological torment.
Not even close. Amnesia Collection doesn't just test your sanity, it destroys it.
Yeah, this one's a heavy hitter. Amnesia Collection brings together the original, The Dark Descent, A Machine for Pigs, and Justine, 3 distinct nightmares all bound by one theme: fear through vulnerability.
That's what makes Amnesia so timeless. There's no gun, no weapon, no way to fight back. Your only defense is to hide. And that primal helplessness makes every moment feel real. You're constantly balancing between curiosity and survival.
Exactly. The first game, The Dark Descent, is still one of the most effective horror experiences ever made. The way it plays with light and darkness, it's genius. The lantern becomes your best friend and worst enemy at the same time.
Right, light helps you stay sane, but it also exposes you to whatever's lurking in the dark. And if you stay in the shadows too long, your sanity slips away. Hallucinations, distortions, panic. The Switch version preserves all of that perfectly. The performance is surprisingly stable, and playing in handheld mode makes it even more claustrophobic.
What I love about Amnesia is how it builds horror through suggestion. You almost never see the monster clearly, and that makes it worse.
Exactly. Your imagination fills in the gaps, and that's the true horror. It's not about what you see, it's about what your brain convinces you might be there. That's why the fear lingers even after you stop playing.
So, after surviving madness, memory loss, and monsters we never fully see, we've reached the point where horror finally takes physical form, and it has a tail, acid blood, and an appetite for fear.
Yeah, this one doesn't whisper from the shadows. It hunts you. Alien Isolation is horror survival perfected. It's not just about escaping, it's about enduring pure, relentless tension for hours.
What still amazes me is how faithful it feels to the original Alien film. The retro-futuristic design, the grainy monitors, the flickering lights, it's like stepping onto the Nostromo in 1979.
Exactly. Creative Assembly nailed that aesthetic. It's not flashy sci-fi. It's claustrophobic, mechanical, industrial. Everything looks lived in, grimy, and analog. And that atmosphere builds so much authenticity that you feel every footstep echo through Sevastopol Station.
The Switch version is surprisingly strong, too. You'd think a game this graphically intense would lose something in handheld mode, but the port holds up really well.
Yeah, it's impressive. The lighting, the reflections, the ambient sound, it's all intact. Even on a smaller screen, the tension is amplified. When you're hiding in a locker listening to the xenomorphs stomp around nearby, the Switch's portability turns it into a personal panic box.
A personal panic box, that's the perfect way to describe it. But seriously, Alien Isolation does something few horror games manage. It teaches you fear.
Right. The xenomorph isn't scripted. It learns. The AI adapts to your behavior. If you hide too often in lockers, it starts checking them. If you use the motion tracker too much, it hears it beep. It's unpredictable, and that unpredictability is pure anxiety.
So after being hunted through space in Alien Isolation, it feels like we're heading somewhere smaller this time, but somehow even darker.
Yeah, much darker. The Binding of Isaac, Rebirth, takes the idea of horror and turns it inward. It's not about a monster chasing you, it's about escaping your own nightmares, and sometimes your own mother.
That's what makes it so interesting. On the surface, it's a top-down roguelike shooter, but beneath the quirky, cartoonish style, it's telling one of the most twisted, emotionally charged stories in gaming.
Exactly. It's a game that hides trauma inside absurdity. Every room, every boss, every grotesque creature is a piece of Isaac's mind, representing guilt, fear, faith, and punishment. It's unsettling because the horror isn't obvious, it's psychological, disguised under frantic gameplay and bizarre humor.
And mechanically, it's genius. You start every run as Isaac, naked, crying, armed with your own tears. Then the random item system completely changes the way you play.
Right, that roguelike design keeps it endlessly replayable. Each item, from holy relics to disturbing mutations, transforms Isaac, both visually and strategically. It's like every run is a new story about how trauma reshapes identity. You might become powerful, or you might mutate into something horrifying. Either way, the symbolism never lets you forget what it's really about.
So after descending into Isaac's nightmare of guilt and faith, we finally leave the basement, only to find ourselves in the woods, and somehow it's even worse.
Yeah, because this time the darkness isn't just inside your head, it's everywhere. Blair Witch takes us deep into the forest, but what it's really exploring is memory, regret, and the way trauma can twist reality.
That's what makes it so compelling. It's not just another Lost in the Woods horror game, it's a psychological descent. You play as Ellis, a former police officer haunted by guilt, trying to find a missing boy in the infamous Black Hills forest.
Exactly. And right from the start, it's clear the forest isn't just a setting, it's a reflection of Ellis's mind. The deeper you go, the more reality breaks down. Paths loop endlessly, time fractures, and memories bleed into the present. It's disorienting in the best way.
And let's talk about Bullet, your dog. That was such a smart design choice. He's your only companion, your only tether to sanity.
Absolutely. Bullet isn't just emotional support, he's gameplay. He sniffs out clues, warns you of danger, and reacts to your mental state. But the bond you build with him also becomes part of the horror. When things start going wrong and Bullet gets scared or lost, it hurts.
Yeah, it's that emotional connection that makes every moment heavier. You're not just surviving, you're responsible for something that still trusts you even when you're falling apart.